Okay, g'day, here we go. Today I'm going to do a floral, another floral. This is just going to be more of a still life with a bit of a vase and some nice colour. And I've already put this base down, a little bit of phthalo blue and some nice bright red. So this is good under paint to start. It's pretty rough. I've just put that on quite thin really. So we're going to start building that up with a little bit of colour now. I'm going to map it out. I want to put a vase in the middle, so I'm going to get a bit of black, just a bit of Mars black. Okay. Get my water ready. Up there. Okay. So I don't want to put this on too thick. I've already marked out the center here, so I'm going to start by putting, I'm going to whack a vase in here. So I want it about that size, I guess. I might come down a bit lower there. There's going to be a little bit of reflection coming off the bottom. And once I'm happy and it's just scratched in nice and light and tiny bit of paint, nothing too thick. And it's good with acrylic because if I make a mess, you can just come back and paint over it in 10 minutes. It doesn't matter. So you can feel nice and relaxed and don't get too stressed about if you make a mistake because it dries so quick. So and of course this could be a round vase or a pretty vase or a patterned one, you do whatever you like, but this is just a good little example of how easy it is just to make a start. So this one's just going to be all about colour. Okay, so that looks okay so far, so I'll just keep working on that. Now I'm happy with it. I'm actually going to make this a red vase, but I want to put these darks down underneath, so when I put the red colours in, this is going to really jump through. You see a little bit of black shining through later. So just block all that out. And I want to have a little bit of reflection here. So I'm just going to put this in just really lightly. Beautiful. All right. A couple of sticks and bushy bits. You see, I'm not getting real fussy about anything here. Just, we all know what flowers look like. They're sticking out everywhere here. And I'm only putting this on thin so I can jump straight into it. If it's too thick, I'd have to wait 10 or 20 minutes for it to dry. So I'm just playing with the composition here at the moment. Starting to look good. Okay. Just thin this down with a little bit of water so I can put a couple of little stalks and things through there. So it's nice to start off with all these darks because any colour that we put over the top of it is going to really jump out later. So I don't want to do too much because I'm going to paint over a lot of this in a moment when I do the background. So there we go. So that's basically the composition of what I'm going to try and get done here today. So what do we got? A bit of yellow, which I haven't got. Here it is. A nice bright yellow, like a cadmium yellow, or this one, Acrylic yellow light. A funny name, but it's good colour. So anything nice and bright. So I'm going to put this straight over the black, the red, sorry. So this is going to allow some of that red to jump through, so that's why I've put that down first and let it dry off. Because I want this to be just nice and bright and happy, so not mucking around too much, just on the side of the brush. It's not loaded up too much, so we just get a little bit of that paint off the brush onto the palette so it's not too thick. It's just all squiggly and nice. There we go. But see, rather than put just a yellow base on the bottom, this looks so much better because you've got that red shining through. And we can play with this as much as we want and build it up and strengthen it as we go. And with acrylic, quite often when you put it on, it looks quite bright, but as it dries, it seems to go a little bit darker, so we can always go a bit brighter than you think it should be, because it's always going to darken off. And we can do this, we can tip it upside down or on its side, whatever makes it easier. So leave a bit of that reflection. We'll keep building that up as we go. So it's just scrumbling, I guess. I think that's what they call this particular method of brushing, it's just scrumbling. There you go, it's got a nice warm feel. Okay. All right. Another brush. I'm going to put some orange over that blue. See how that looks. And if it looks terrible and you make it blue, doesn't matter. If you make a mistake, let it dry, 10 minutes later, put another colour over it. So there's no pressure to perform. Well, not for you guys, because you're going to be sitting on your own doing this, whereas I'm being watched by all you people, so I've got a bit more pressure. So here we go. Just start adding a bit of colour here. So a lot of people get nervous and they think, oh, I've got a $30 canvas and I don't want to wreck it. And they put a lot of pressure on themselves, whereas with acrylic it's so forgiving because just the fact that it dries so fast and you can just paint over it. So you don't worry about mistakes. And if I don't like what's happening here, the same thing, I can paint over that again. I can put purples over there, any colour you like. But I just want this to be really colourful and jump out. So just overlap some of that, it doesn't matter because it's going to make it look more interesting later. Those little bits of darks popping through, it gives you a bit more depth. So if I put water with this colour and thin it down or whatever, it's not going to break up and have this scrumbly look with all that beautiful blue coming through. It's just going to be really messy. So this is just really a dry brush. It's not too wet at all. It's just pure pigment. There's no thinning at all. Just gives it a nice little finish. And if you're working on a 6-foot canvas, it's a bit hard to tip it upside down every 5 minutes. But like this is quite acceptable. And I'm not worried about going over the lines or getting too pretty. We want this to be nice and free. There we go. That's good, I like that colour. Sounds good. So that's nice and bright. That's going to jump off the wall once it's finished. And you can see already this is actually dried virtually now. So it's sort of toned down a little bit. Like I say, it seems to go a little bit darker once you let it dry off. So we can come back and just add a little bit more strength to it if you feel it needs it. So a lot of people seem to put pressure on themselves and think, oh, it's got to be perfect, it's got to look like something that's, you know, going to be accepted by everyone. Everyone paints differently, everyone has a different opinion on what looks good and what doesn't. Just paint for yourself, as long as you're happy with it. That's all that counts, because someone's going to like it. Never please everybody, as long as you're happy with what you've done. There we go. Lovely. All right. So now, get some white ready. And this is similar to a cadmium red, really bright, beautiful red. Cadmiums are very expensive. What's this thing? Naphthol red light. So it's just a bit cheaper than your cadmiums, but it's just as effective. It's beautiful, bright, vibrant colour. Okay. Wash off. Drag this on. Get a bit of a line there from my undercoat, but that doesn't matter. Paint over that. So there's not too much paint on my brush here, so I'm going to just lightly, with a dry brush, just drag a little bit of colour, a bit of red through there. Like a bit of a reflection. I'm going to load the brush up a fair bit here now. Nice and thick. And brush strokes are good, bit of texture. So they're just nice, straight, confident strokes. I might tidy that edge up a little bit. I like that little bit of dark line left there too. That's good. Titanium white. Okay, now just as a little bit of a highlight. And I think that needs black going again here. Actually, I'll use a smaller brush on this. Just going to put a little. There we go. All right. I'm going to thin this out with a bit of water. Get quite a bit of water on this one. Just mix it right through. Start putting some of these sticks in here. You know, if you obviously you could get a bowl of flowers and have it sit next to you on the table and copy what you're looking at. I'm just trying to give a few examples here, though. I'm making it up, obviously. Just how to start and how to get through and get a little bit of shape and form. So putting that dark underneath there, whacking the red on, bit of a highlight. I've left it quite thick. I like that. I like that look. Just get a few bits of this in. I'm pretty happy with the background. I like that orange, so we don't really need to do anything with that right now. So I'll just keep playing with these. So this is good because it breaks these two halves. With this, just something pulling through it to break it and tie it all together. But maybe something laying down there, a few bits that dropped off sitting on the table. So if you had a vase of flowers, you'd notice there's stuff hanging out everywhere, so I'm going to cut through some of that too. So a couple of little background flowers before we put any colour on, because once again, once I put the colour on, these are going to be set back, these little dark bits. So this will give you a little bit of depth later on. So there's no perfect flowers or anything I'm doing here, it's just impressions. And this should help you just relax and just get it down, because once you're able to do this, the way I'm doing this today, and if you can feel really free and a little bit more confident because you've just done a painting and it looks half decent, well then you can start spending a lot more time and drag this out over a period of hours or days if you want, and just keep building the detail. And it's the same technique really. You just spend a little bit more time on it, on each part. Okay. A little bit of rubbish that's fallen. And I might even put a hint of a bit of a shadow under there. Give it a nice little look. Just laying on the table. Okay. So put these back in here. And these are just bristle, just cheap old bristle brushes. Look at this, $1.75 for that one, number 12. Cheap as chips, so you don't have to worry about really expensive brushes. It depends what you're painting, obviously, but when I come down to using my, thinner, smaller brushes and more You know, use something like this for really fine detail or signatures or whatever. These can get quite expensive, but for a painting like this, you don't have to spend a lot of money just to get started. Oh, we need some blue. Where did I put that? Okay. Let's put a bit of blue in that to get it a bit darker green. Just a few of the darker ones to give it a little bit of depth. Once we highlight and put the lighter colours over the top of that, these will jump a bit. So that okay. I'm going to put a few red ones in too while I'm at it. I just think the more colours, the more depth, the more vibrant it becomes. Just a couple of little touches. My mum had cut crook at me because I'm wiping it all over my hands. It's probably easier to get a few tissues instead of using your clothes, but all right. So see all those darks that I put down first, set right back, and everything else now starting to come on top with the lighter colour, so that gives you a lot more depth in the painting. I'll lighten that green up a bit with a bit of yellow. So that's just like a permanent green light, I think I use there. So you can add a bit of blue to darken it down, add a bit of yellow to brighten things up. So this colour's really jumping out now because I've put all those darker ones behind it. So it just really lifts it. So I'm just hold the brush the way you want. You can't push it to get a fine line. You've got to drag it and sort of twirl it. So if I'm coming out this direction, I'm just going to hold it like that. If I want to go up, I'm going to drop it and drag it up. So it's really light pressure, so I'm not pushing down hard on the brush at all. Otherwise it's going to make a really big mark, you know, you don't want that. So pressure's really important. So it's starting to lift this. Good colour, good colour. So I actually twirl the brush a little bit sometimes as I'm dragging it, just to keep a nice fine. Otherwise it flattens out. It'll flatten out and you'll get really thick or whatever. So if you twirl it and drag it, it seems to hold a nicer point. So some people have got favourite flowers. So if they were daisies, for example, you could start putting your daisies in, or you might want to add some roses or whatever. That's all personal. I'm just winging it here, putting anything in, because to me it's all about colour, this particular one, and just doing a nice little example for you guys to show you how easy it is. So I think a little blue with all those other lovely colours there. So this is phthalo blue. This is one of my favourite blues. It's pretty versatile. Just adding a little bit here and there. That really vibrates now. That's great. Because I've got that in the background, that's similar. Same blue actually. It all sort of ties in. So those couple of tiny little bit of red flicks next to that blue, it all starts to work together. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Lighten that up now. Actually, pop some down here, I think. Just like the petals that have fallen from there. So it pays to, before you start, to know sort of where you're going and what type of vase you want to put in and what type of flowers you want to put through it. But I had a bit of an idea what I wanted to do here, so it's quite easy and straightforward for me. But you just get some subject matter, a photo, or just set some up in front of you so you can have a quick look and have a reference to go by. So all these little bits just add all these, looks like so much detail now, but it's not, it's just little blobs of paint. It's really quite simple. But as a whole, that's a great little painting. Jumping out. So once this gets on the wall, when your friends walk in, they're going to love it, I'm sure. Okay. Once again, it's really light pressure. I'm just putting a little bit of pressure. Because if I push down on it too hard, it'll come out really thick. onto the board. So this is where we start to play with the balance, make sure everything's just nice and place. You wouldn't want one group of little white flowers on one side, so we want to spread all this out. You know, sometimes I spend a lot of time on some paintings. Sometimes anything up to 6 weeks on the one piece. Everything's really detailed. Very, very sort of thought about every brushstroke. But things like this, I just really enjoy because we can just play with the colour and form and shape, and that little reflection's starting to work all right now. There you go. Pretty simple. I could leave the jolly thing like that if I wanted to, or I can whack some more flowers in. You can go to town, do whatever you like. You can just leave it where it is. I think that needs to come over there. Just to break that edge up a little. Need some more paint though. So realistic, I haven't used a lot of colours. The green and the yellow, the reds and blues are pretty basic palette. It's just how you mix them and where you use them, I guess. I think the yellow should jump on this. Yeah. So I might put a couple of bigger ones. There's a fly coming to join the party. So you could do the same thing here with palette knife. I really enjoy doing that. It's a lot more bold and a lot more confidence required, and slap it on nice and thick and buttery, plenty of texture. Sorry about the stick, I know it gets in the way, but it stops my wobbly hands. So while I'm doing this, I'm just looking for balance. Just make sure there's balance. I like that. That'll do. Don't want to overdo it. I'll put some white in there. So what other colours do we want in there? I think that's starting to look pretty good. So you can overdo it if you go too far, or you can just be happy with what you got. But I think just a little bit of purple. This is a brilliant violet. It's got a nice little feel to it against those yellows. Look at that. So I'm not even painting flowers, they're just little dollops of paint here, just colour in that dark background that gives it a nice feel. So there's no rules, whatever you want. If you think it looks good, do it. If you make a mess, like I say, you just give it 10 minutes to dry and it's so easy to paint over and cover your mistakes. Because there's no one watching you, so you shouldn't get nervous. Just be confident and have a crack at it. That looks good. So this is bone dry virtually, all this. Dry as anything, so it's just so easy to use. Let's get a bit of red in there. I love red. So I don't want the red one to be too dominant because those white and the yellow daisy looking things, they look quite good. So just a few splashes of colour here and there. Just grabs your eye. It's so simple, just a bit of water to clean up. It's cheap, acrylic paint's cheap. I've just used a little bit of hardboard. Like I say, I've put a bit of primer, PSU, primer, sealer, undercoat, quick coat, and then a little bit of whitewash over the top, and away you go. The background, as I said before, I just had the red, the blue, really rough, just quite thin, so it dried really quick, enabling me to scrumble this colour in. So I can even come back now and scrumble a bit of a different, I could put some more reds into the bottom here to warm it up if I want. There's no end to it. So, okay. I really like that light blue, so I just want to put another little touch of that in here. We're just about done. Very pretty. You could give that to your mum for Mother's Day. She'd be over the moon. So all we're going to do is give it a signature, sign it off, let it dry, give it a varnish, and the varnish will actually pull all this colour out. It'll knock those dark colours back and really exaggerate the lighter colours. We come back and have a little play with this actually. I might put just a little bit of white with that violety colour. Oh, I might go a bit darker. And you can just put a few more little details here and there. So it's always good to sit back after and have a look and think, oh yeah, I know what I can do here. I'll just add a little bit more colour. So I know it looks like I'm pretty confident just doing it really quick or whatever, but you take your time, you do a couple of these, and it's so simple, your confidence will go through the roof. Once you've had a crack and you do a few quick ones, and just loosen up. Don't worry about any detail at all, because that's where people get lost. They think, oh, I've got to try too hard. You don't. You've just got to keep it really, really simple, and you'll learn every single time you do a painting. You'll learn something fabulous from it. So the more you do, the better you get. So if you do a few of these, you'll really, really surprise yourself. Highlight some of these a bit. As I said, that white sort of knocked back because it's dried off a bit darker. So that's why we've got to come back and just add a little bit more here and there. Keep it punchy and strong. There we go. I'm not going to touch that now. I think that's a good little example. So good luck. Don't get too tight. Stay nice and loose, nice and free. Enjoy. Cheers. Done.